Hey guys, decent start to February. Since Monday, we had a couple of decent plays, Monday, Tuesday, and yesterday started getting a little bit slower, but I did get some opportunities in the late afternoon as well. So those were really decent days, and today, unfortunately, is the first red day for me this month. So definitely had a small pullback, but overall, I'm still very happy with how the month started. So let's talk about the plays yesterday first. So I was watching VXRT when the stock, if you look at the last 3 days, it gapped up to new highs pre-market. I think it was around like $23 pre-market, and this thing just tanked with some very negative news about their drugs in the pipeline. And that's the thing about biotechs. They can rip for the last 3 days, and it only takes like half an hour to crash from $23 all the way down to $10. So, of course, when it opened from 23 gap down to 11s pre-market, it was looking really weak. I was very cautious. I didn't long the stock just because biotechs, you want to be careful that, if you're trying to catch a falling knife on these stocks, they sometimes can tank a lot further than you think, potentially down to 7s or 6s. But I did see a decent reversal play around here. Had a small short. The long side, I wasn't too scared to get into just because of you cannot just trade the technicals on these biotechs. Especially when have these drug fail news. So I had a small short, just a scalp, and then this thing faded from $12 all the way down to $9 by the end of the day. So this is not one of those buy the dip opportunities. And I just checked today, this stock VXRT faded even lower to low 9s. So just be cautious when you're trading these biotech stocks. The other play yesterday I only had small size on was SINO. So I don't know if you guys remember, SINO was a shipping company back in 2016, and it's part of the entire shipping hype where DRYS dries went from like $1 to $100 in 3 or 4 days. So this was part of the hype. I think this one went to like $50, something like that. That was amazing times back then in 2016. And then, they're a shipping company, and I guess they announced some PR pre-market yesterday saying that they're getting into the electric vehicle space, or was it like a vaccine? But they're hopping on the bandwagon somewhere else. And a lot of times these kind of press releases, they're just pump and dumps. So you can see the stock, we ripped from $5 previous day close all the way to 16. I wasn't involved in that. I was kind of watching if it's gonna retest the highs of $14 pre-market, but it didn't. It just stayed really heavy. And off the open, you can see it spiked to 11 and just failed. So I scaled in around the 11s, and once it keeps on failing and selling off, I'm adding even more. But overall, I didn't get that much size on it just because, yeah, it's a lower float, so gotta be cautious with those, especially when you're kind of shorting the weakness, which is essentially what I was doing because it was really weak. The stock tanked from $10 down to 850s, and then near the low of the day was about $7 SNO. So that was also a small trade. So yesterday was actually pretty slow for me. I only had like a couple of like small trades, but KODK came in at the right time. They had some recycled news, like old news, and they announced it again midday yesterday. Well, not midday, around like 2 p.m. in the afternoon. It was like gonna be like a really boring power hour until I saw KODK running up from 960s all the way to 13s. Had a starter position around the 1280s and added once it started. You can see making lower lows and lower highs as well. So essentially we're not holding the breakout, and this thing just faded. I think the key is that the news is recycled. It's from I think late November or early December, but I just remember that I've definitely seen that news before. And the stock just faded from 13s down to 11s and below 10s. So those were pretty straightforward plays yesterday, and that was a decent green day. But today, unfortunately, I am ending the day red. Today is one of those days where I just couldn't get anything going, either on the long side, on the short side, and it's just death by 1,000 paper cuts. Now, the last stock I played is GameStop on the long side. Don't worry, I wasn't shorting it. There was no shorts available, and I longed it, looking for the reversal. You can see the stock. We had basically, if you look at a daily chart, it broke down for the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th day. So, and if you look at the area I was looking for around the 63s, some small daily support, I was looking for a bigger bounce, honestly. When I longed it around the 63s, small size, and I added bigger around the 66s, I thought we were gonna get a very nice reversal to 74s and above, like a strong bounce, right? After looking at daily charts. But I'm sorry, like this thing was just so weak all day. Every single bounce, you can see all these small bounces are sold into and just downtrending. And even after this reversal around 12 o'clock, 12:15, it did look like it was going to be very strong. And I was looking at it thinking, oh, maybe I'll join in and buy the stock again for another bounce. This thing just got rejected hard off the 71s, and now it's fading down to the low of the day. So I'm not sure what the stock, but I'm just saying it looks pretty weak. I think this thing could potentially break down 62s and go test $60 and below today, potentially. Remember, if you're trading this, GME, price action trumps all. I really did want to see GME back at highs, have a very nice bounce on the daily back to 90s and potentially above. And unfortunately, just not today. It was very weak for the entire day, even after SSR is triggered. So for GME, I do want to buy and go long the stock for another bounce, but maybe not today. I will be looking for the first green day for the move to the upside. So maybe that could be tomorrow or next Monday. So today definitely was a little bit choppier than the last few days, but hopefully we get more volume momentum pick up tomorrow. So let's start with the first one, AVXL. So this one actually made more money on the long side, and then I gave back some on the long side once it kind of rug pulled on me from the 26s. I did long here. You can see I longed it, stopped out, starter size, so that was fine. And once it broke out, and that's why I started adding on the dips, and then sold into the pushes. I had a pretty aggressive ad because I really thought it was gonna rip to 30s. And with these kind of volatile stocks, you have to add on like small increments. If your full size is, let's say, 1,000 shares, you cannot just go in 1,000 shares at once. You have to like go in pieces, like 100, 200, 200, 500. So that's what I was doing slowly and selling on the pushes. The spreads were huge on this. Like it was difficult to get filled. Both selling and buying. So unfortunately, like on this last ad, I got a little bit too aggressive. I did sell some into this, but this is where I got rug pulled. And when this thing just tanked, unfortunately, but I did follow my stop. So I gave back a lot of profit on the long side. And I did started shorting around here, just small size, just a tiny scalp. And once it confirmed that it's going to break down below VWAP, that's why I scaled in a little bit more on the short side over here. Shorted some, you can see this higher lows and below VWAP. It didn't reclaim it. If it had reclaimed the VWAP around 23s, I would have cut my short, and then I started adding it. It was like same thing with a long side. When you add a stock on the short side on a easy to borrow stock like this, you have to add in like slowly. So I was adding like very slow, and the short was okay. I did better generally on the long side, but it was just unfortunate. I gave back a lot of profit. The short turned out to be like a very, very small win, and I re-added some. You can see I'm covering into the flushes, re-added some around here, and then I basically was all out around 28. I tried it again here, but just got out of it. You can see the stock is kind of slowly reversing now. CPSH, I'm sure a lot of people got ripped in the face on the short side since it was an easy to borrow stock. I knew that, but I still it was a setup. So I tried it with a small size to start, and I stopped out. So I lost on the short side. I didn't try to go long the stock, so it's all shorts. But I did lose on it. So this was a nice cover. I started in small size, covered here. Another small size here, but it was hard to stop out. The stock was very volatile, so even with a small size, it's still a decent like $3 a share loss with a small size. But I was okay with that generally. Overall, it's still net red on CPSH, and I just kind of left it alone. You can see the stock, a lot of fake outs, try to reclaim VWAP and just got slammed back down to 20s, and now it's holding and grinding back up. So I think this stock was just very difficult to trade, at least for me, and the spreads and the fills were terrible. So overall, net red on this ticker on the short side. So the third stock, I traded on the long side, but this one ended up being a small red. It's SKLZ. So this one, they had some news of, a new agreement for NFL gaming contract. And the stock is also trading at all-time highs. And then, I was long biased. That's a very, very bullish agreement. It's a very good contract for the company, of course, especially with the NFL coming up, right? So the stock, I didn't trade this at all until midday. Once I saw it forming higher lows, I did think that it's gonna retest the highs around 39s, and I thought we were gonna see it rip higher to 40s and above. It was just so slow, and that's where I got chopped up. I saw I had a starter, so it was a starter position. I was okay, risking around the 37s. I even added some, so it was going fine, and then it just kind of broke down 37s for like a few candles, and it didn't look like it was gonna losing bids. If you look at the volume, right, over here around 11:15, volume was so low and we're breaking down 37. That's why I stopped out. So took a loss on that, and this thing just reclaimed and like ripped higher. And I have no idea where this volume came from. It just volume surge out of nowhere. You can see this 400K volume candle bar around here. I did have another like smaller size going back, but it didn't make much money on here. You can see I had a small add here and added here along the trend essentially, and I sold everything around 39s and then stopped out. So overall, another red ticker. So that's what I mean by death by 1,000 paper cuts. If you enjoyed the video, please remember to drop a like and subscribe. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Hey guys, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video and the bad jokes. If you want to see more day trading content, make sure to subscribe and follow me on Twitter and Instagram for more. If you'd like to trade with me daily and get my free weekend watch list and trading journal, make sure to check out the links below for more resources. Stay green, stay positive, and I'll see you guys next time.